Hello, welcome everyone. So, as you might have noticed, we are short one player. Don't worry, she didn't leave the group. She just had a little problem. She had to vacate her apartment, um, and she wasn't given enough time to pack her things. So, unfortunately, this week we're gonna miss her. But she tells me that before next week, she's going to have the opportunity to get her stuff back, and so she will be with us for next week. Hopefully, you never know.
We are hopeful.
Yes. Otherwise, it's really going to be very hard for her because I think she wasn't even given enough time to take a change of clothes. So she will be smelling something bad if she has to wait a whole week to get new clothes. So, um, well, that's about the news from the group. So for everyone who might be watching this either live or still during this global pandemic, I believe that the overlay gives you access to social media for each one of us. Um, just send a little comforting word to our druid. Let her know that you think about her. I'm sure she will appreciate it. If you watch this and we're no longer in this, well, she's going to appreciate it, but it's going to be a little bit out of date. So,
Sound is good, by the way.
nice, thanks. All right, so everyone, welcome to Draken Memoria. For those joining us, for those returning to us, welcome back. For those joining us for the first time, it's a pleasure to have you among us. And for those who might be wondering what this is, for some reason, well, it's about Dungeons and Dragons and a group of people playing Dungeons and Dragons. So if this doesn't interest you, maybe you should change channels. For everyone else, take a seat and we're gonna start. So, last episode, the group decided to explore the garden. New and strange environment, mostly. Each of them decided to explore something that catered to their own personal interests. Our paladin decided to explore the more social aspect of this environment. Visited the tavern, made a few new friends, then decided to venture out and discover the general residential area. We've had our construct friend, also known as Warforged, but in this world it's just construct because they're a bit too new to have a name other than that. Decided to visit the, let's call it, knowledge and research department of the garden. He visited the library and arcane research quarter of this establishment. He made a few research about the hunter god, learned a few things, mostly about his origin, and also decided to make a few research about his own origin, which is going to be something he will get the result in 1 or 2 days. And Ardrid decided to explore the arboretum and possibly made a strange new friend and discovered that even in this strange environment, there are some things that can appeal to a druid or priest of nature or paladin with the Oath of the Ancient. And then everyone decided to reconvene to the largest tavern where each lived through their own new trauma, some more pleasant than others. And when we last left, Fisher decided that the evening had been traumatizing enough and decided to go back to the arboretum and submerge himself in the pond water for the night. Valtteri left with the half-brother of audience most important crush, and audience decided to impress his most important crush by showing her just how much he could take alcohol with no means to remove the poisoning effect. And so this is where we last left our group. So, Fisher, you left the tavern. It's still early. First few moments of night. Surprisingly enough, as the moment that you leave the residential area of this and you get into the arboretum, you do notice that there is a day and night cycle in there. The night is slowly starting to take place. There are only a last few bits of purple and blue in the skies. The black is mostly covering everything. You can even see stars appearing. But they're not the stars that you are accustomed to seeing. Strange new skies from a strange place. It does take you roughly 45 minutes, maybe an hour if you walk slowly to just take in the night environment of this before you get to the pond. Is there anything you'd like to do, say, as you walk to this resting pond of yours?
No.
All right. So, you take in this new environment, you get close to the pond, and you just walk in with the water slowly rising up to about your chest level. But as soon as you sit down, you find yourself completely submerged with the sound around you muffled. You do feel something from time to time bump into you, but it feels like something very small that just bumps there for a few moments and then leaves. You don't, unless you use a light spell, it's fairly dark. There are no artificial light source in the garden other than the stars. Oops. But you're fairly confident that it's probably a fish. Nothing tries to bite you anyway. That's mostly it. So you just go into your sentry mode? Or maybe you feel confident enough to sleep in this strange, new, slightly weird, and you don't know if it's dangerous or not environment?
I think I'll stick to sentry mode.
Alright.
I'll watch the fish.
During the night, you are surprised at one point by a luminescent fish. But other than that, your evening and your night is pretty uneventful. Since you are in sentry mode, you do see eventually light coming back from above you. Nothing very special seems to happen. Slowly you see the golden and then orange and red of the morning, and slowly you believe that the sun is up, or at least whatever light source. Since you went to bed fairly early, your sentry mode gets you out of sleep mostly automatically, as it's time for. It lasts roughly 8 hours on its own. So you find yourself submerged with a fish looking at you. You don't hear a lot, a few muffled sound coming from above the surface, but you do notice that there are quite a bit of seaweed around you. So there's probably a few of them that have managed to lightly tangle themselves on you. Not enough to be a restraint, but enough that you're going to have to pull on them to get out. Or if you want to just go at this very gently, try and unwrap them from around you.
Does it look like anything's like living in the seaweed, or is it just
Few fish, something you're not sure what it is. It looks like a underwater insect. It has several legs. Weirdly enough, it sort of reminds you of a spider, but without the bulbous area, bulbous abdomen that they have. It just seems to be letting itself float, and from time to time, you see his appendages that just seemingly grab something, pull it toward itself, and then go back to relax and keep on floating. You do notice there's an eel. Doesn't
kind of slowly to not disturb too much of my surroundings?
Okay. Sorry, your camera froze for a moment. I wasn't sure what was going on. I could still hear you, but your image was just frozen with your
That's
mouth.
not what you want.
So you slowly rise, and as your head breaches the water, and well, how do we call this? Your ears, probably right at the right place where ears should be. At the moment that your ears come out, you hear someone, a small voice from behind you, say,
Hey, there we go.
"Haha." So you do hear this small voice from behind you say, "And it rises from the depth, from its nightly..." And then you hear someone say, "Shut up, please don't yell this in the store all day long." "But it's a good idea. I'm sure I can write something about this." "No, you're not, and you're not gonna, no." "But it's, I even thought of the title. The Creature from the Pond. Rising from..." "No, shut up. No, come on." And then you turn around, see what it is, and you see two gnomes moving away, one being dragged away by his friend, going toward the commercial district of this place. Other than that, you don't see much of anything, but when you turn completely around, you do notice that there is a dog watching you. Well, at least it looks like a dog. Something very similar to a border collie, but it has the size of a Great Dane, and it's just staring at you. It's sitting on the side of the pond, looking at you.
Kind of put a hand up and wave a little bit. Does it react at all?
It tilts his head a bit to the side and...
So I'll walk up to it.
It doesn't seem to be moving. It's just watching you.
Okay. kind of kneel down in front and like awkwardly kind of pat it on the head.
It gives you a big lick just on the side of your head. Because of its size, its tongue is rather large, so it covers your entire cheek from the side of the nose to where the ears should be, just in one big.
Come on.
But it keeps looking at you. It seems to be fairly happy to see you.
Um, what are you doing here? I'll get up and start walking back to my room. After a couple steps, I'll kind of turn around. Is he following me?
No, but he's still watching you.
Hmm.
You keep
Okay.
you keep moving away
Yeah.
one step at a time. All right. It doesn't seem to be following you or anything. However, you do find yourself in the very early morning around you, and you do notice that there's quite a lot of activity. Apparently, a lot of the adventurers take the opportunity to train a bit in the morning because after maybe 2 or 3 minutes of walking toward the residential area, you find yourself in front of, well, a slightly weird spectacle. Slightly weird, as in unexpected. You see in front of you the gnome that came with you when you all entered the garden. She's looking toward probably human, maybe half elf, female. She has a bow in her hand, very large. She's looking at an arrow. Make a perception roll, please.
Haha, nat 20.
Oh, wow.
It's
So,
a good start.
yeah. All right. So, with a natural 20, you sort of see a lot with this, and you easily identify that this is not just someone looking at her stuff, but you realize once that the gnome feels completely baffled by what's happening in front of her. And what you notice is that there are several targets spread throughout the field. You also see several arrows placed in different areas, as if maybe to simulate where arrows would have fallen inside of a battlefield. The woman is looking at this arrow, and you notice that there are no arrowheads. It's just the wooden shaft, and there is a small, what looks like metal bead at the end of it where the arrowhead should be. So most likely something to make sure that the arrow isn't lethal if fired. She takes a moment with this. She looks at it. You see that she waited. She waits it. She just let it dangle a bit. Let it fall on the ground. She takes 5 of them, and within a few moments, you see her start firing these arrows. One of them in almost every direction. She does it at the blinding speed. Even though she is wearing metal armor and you can barely hear her moving, it's almost poetic how fluid she moves and throw herself in one direction, rolls on the ground, takes one of the arrow on the ground, fire it on one of the targets, turn around, fire again, jumps again. And after a moment, you also realize that she is mixing spells with this. As one of the arrow, as soon as it reaches its target, bursts, and several arrows just cover the area where it bursts. And as she reaches what you assume is the end of this, as all of the target seems to slowly be getting pummeled by arrows, or sometimes just one. The last one, you hear her pronounce an arcane word, and when she launches it, it hits the last target, but it literally disintegrates it in a flash of fire. And then she just gets back up, regain her composure, and you hear the gnome beside you say, "Oh, I came here to practice, but now I feel like there's really something that I didn't understand with using this thing." And she has a bow also on her, but oh, goodness. And she just starts walking in another direction as if defeated by the mere sight of this archer nailing all of these arrows at all of these targets effortlessly and using spells you've never seen used by any archer so far.
I'll try and snag the gnome before she gets too far away.
All right, well, she's moving, she's dragging her feet. She literally is morally defeated by this.
Nia, right?
Yeah. I remember hearing your name. I believe it's fishing, something about
Fisher.
Yeah. So, how have you been?
Pretty good. This place is new. There's a lot about it that is very different.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not a I'm not a bad ranger. I'm fairly good, but we have those people that are so above us. How can we even think about shining when we're standing in the shadows of giants like her? Did you even notice she not only didn't miss a single target, she nailed it in the center. It was a bullseye every time.
Well, maybe she can teach you how to do it.
I can't fire missiles that obliterate targets like this. That's not ranger-like. I don't know what. And she's gonna get something just like us. Imagine what will happen.
Well, as far as I can tell, they didn't. They didn't bring us here because we're particularly the best there is, but more because they just need. They want eyes outside. They want to learn about where we're from, and the more people they have to do that, the better.
Yeah, but what can we teach them that they can't?
Well, generally, in my experience. We don't. We can have very different experiences than those who are a lot better than we are.
Yeah, probably. It's just overwhelming, you know.
Not everything is a huge, daring adventure filled with impossible monsters.
You didn't see what happened last night. You left the tavern fairly early, but oh boy. You know, I've seen tavern brawl in my days, but that was something else. Have you ever seen someone divine smite someone else with a chair? That's special.
I have not.
No.
Yeah, that I'm sure that would be very interesting to witness. This brawl wouldn't have been started by an orc, would it?
No, he was definitely part of it, but no, he didn't. He didn't start it. I was sitting on the second floor when it all started. I remember hearing your friend speaking very loudly. Um, and then I remember someone answering him, and then the fight started. Um, it didn't start quite as bad as it was, but I remember seeing the woman that she was with laughing, and then someone said something about this, and then your friend started to wail on that person. The orc just added himself to the fight. I think he just likes to fight. But you know, when you start seeing him, and then there was this Naftan who added to the fight, and then we had people coming from the third floor just jumping in, and we had this dwarf, the one that we crossed when we first entered. I think someone ended is in the hospital because dwarf that dwarf, I think it was a harm spell. He used it on a human, on, you know, what's at the right height for a dwarf to grab. The guy just went white and fell on the floor. And then you see this on the floor below. Everyone starts fighting. Your friends seem to be really liking this. And then suddenly he just takes a chair and hits someone. And you see the chair flares and burst on the back of this human who just fell to the ground. Immediately someone came to heal him, get him out of the fight. But after that, everyone just went nuts. Like firework. And he even ended with a lot of people leaving. I remember that your friend left with the girl, but I think she was dragging me out. I think he burned himself out in this battle.
He's not dead though, right?
I haven't heard anything about someone dying last night, but he might have one heck of a headache when he's gonna get up. I remember seeing him trying to fight and missing a lot because he just couldn't make 5 steps in a row without slowly deviating to one side or the other.
That is not surprising. Seem to be I should probably go check on him.
Alright. Well, tell him it was a good show.
I'm sure he will be very happy to hear that.
Alright, well, See you later, and thanks for the talk. It's nice to know we're not alone, and beside all these
Hmm.
talented people.
Just because you can't do the spell part doesn't mean you can't do the archery part.
Yeah, I
I
guess.
myself had to learn how to fight before I could learn how to add the magic to it.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's like when one of those humans said, "Baby steps." But I think he was
Exactly.
mocking me when he said that. But I like the concept.
Well, it was good to see you again. I'll go make sure audience doesn't have any permanent injuries.
All right, I'll give him my best. I'm gonna go talk to the dog.
He wasn't very chatty, but
Oh, he can understand you. As I've understood, it's sort of a reverse druid. Like some druids
wait,
spend
what?
their life always changing shape, but they remain human. This one is the opposite. It's an animal that can change in human. They have some
That
weird stuff in here.
yeah, 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 definitely.
Okay,
Well,
bye.
see you later.
All right. It's going to take you roughly 45 minutes, maybe an hour to get back to your quarters. So, audience, let's say you're going to be waking up just before, a few moments before he arrives. So,
Okay.
when you wake up, you are in your room.
I'm in my room.
Yeah, you're alone.
Okay.
Your face feels a bit numb, but and you're pretty sure you have a black eye when you just touch around, but the damage is gone. You don't have any hit points that are left, but you still feel the soreness of the black eye. And you don't remember much. You have flashes of conversation with Amieli. You have flashes of what you think was a fight, and you remember something bursting in lights. But not long after that, you remember feeling something cold but slightly pleasant dragging on your back, and then you wake up. But what you do really notice when looking around is that there's a plate on your desk and there's food in it. It's your favorite spicy jello, and there's a little card on it.
Cool. All right. I'll kind of push myself up, kind of stumble over to the desk, kind of holding my head, like, ugh. Look
this,
around for.
this is when the headache really gets to you because you
Yeah.
start moving. Oh.
I'll take the orb they said you're supposed to wash yourself with. Just kind of put it over my mouth. Just be like, water. Turn it on.
Turn it
Water.
on, turn it on cold and put it on your eye.
Nah, just dump just a bunch into my mouth. Just ugh. Then like maybe kind of hold it like the coolness on my face, and then kind of stumble over to the note. Leave the food for now. I can't imagine eating. Just kind of like I'll open the note. I'll be like, ugh, what's this? Ugh.
It's a small note written with a very fine handwriting. The note says, Thank you for the evening. It was most entertaining, and I hope you recover well. I really appreciate you defending my honor. And since you spent so long talking about this new favorite dish of yours, I thought I'd give you some as a present for the nice evening.
Okay.
Signed, Amiali.
I'll kind of give a little smile. I don't know, tuck the note into my bag somewhere. Um, I'll take a bite of the jello. Not really any more than that. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's the stuff. Still wakes you up. Ugh, and then I'll kind of stumble over to the door. And is that when
Yeah,
Fisher arrives?
yeah, sure. You just arrived to the door. The moment where the door would open, just before you do that, you hear. I should do this on something metal.
I go, oh God. Alright. I open the door. Ugh.
So the door dissolves, and you get hit by this flash of light from the corridor, and you see Fisher in front of you.
Wait, I gotta change my voice to the jerk. Ugh. Fisher. Ugh. What time is it?
Morning.
Oh,
You
really?
seem about how I expected.
Let's see. It was apparently a good evening, I guess. I don't remember it.
Well, you used a chair to smite somebody.
Oh. Is the person okay?
I think they're fine.
That's
It
good.
appears you may have started quite the brawl.
Ah. Well. Am I in trouble?
I don't know. I heard this from the gnome we met on the way in.
I see. Well. Hopefully everything will be fine.
Do you want
Maybe
to put some pants on?
Probably should do that. I'll go over. I'll throw on some clothes. Come back. What are you? Do you have any plans today?
Well, eventually I'll probably make my way back to the library.
Oh yeah, you
They,
had something to tell me last night.
Right. Yes. I don't know. How's thinking going right now?
I'm fine. Just a bit of headache, but
Okay.
I can process.
Here, I'll meet you. Is there like a table downstairs or something, or is it just are these just like dorms?
The places where your quarters probably look a bit like a dorm. There's mostly a bed, a desk, a bookshelf, and a place to store clothes. There's a chair, but you do know, audience, because you've explored. This is something you know. There are several lounging areas inside the residential quarter of this place. So you could easily just go down to there. It's mostly quiet. There's a little feel of you could probably order something there also, but it's mostly just a small lounging area for those who don't want to go to the largest tavern, but still don't feel like staying inside their room.
I say, yeah. I think there are a few lounges downstairs. I'll meet you in one of them.
Well, actually, are you hungry or because?
I have some food. That was brought to me,
Okay,
so
and then
I'm
I'll just
okay.
step in. through the door.
Okay. He steps in. I'll be like, oh, welcome. Yes, of course. Do you want to just talk here?
I found some stuff out about the hunter god.
Oh, I'll be
And
aware enough. I'll like hit my door so it closes behind him because I assume he wants privacy.
Okay.
probably because that, that dream we had said we shouldn't trust everybody here. So
Yeah. All right. Well, what did you? I'll point to anywhere if he wants to take a seat. My rumpled bed. I don't know if I have a chair in my room. Just like I'll be like,
Yeah, yeah.
make
There's a
yourself.
chair for your desk. So
I'll be like, make yourself comfortable. Yeah. What did you find out?
I'll I'll take the chair and like toss my feet up on like the edge of the bed.
I'll sit down.
Like leaning the chair back on the back two legs kind of thing.
I'll sit down on the bed.
So I found out a little bit in the library. There's not a lot, but it looks like it's very old. Used to be kind of different. Was more of a hunter god, but like sustainable hunter god.
Like not evil? Is that what you're trying to get at? Or...
Yeah.
Okay.
Like if you fish all the fish, then there won't be enough fish next year.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah.
Father told me something like that one time.
But then some other god killed it, captured it. Kind of not clear on how that works with gods. And stuck it somewhere in a hole. Then that god died, and so the hunter god was alone there for a really long time. Finally broke out, but there's a couple bolts loose, up there. So now it is evil and likes hunting things, people. I don't know. It likes killing things.
But do we know how it started a cult, or do we know what the cult? Do you have any idea what the cult even wants? Like, what's its end goal, or does it just want to like hunt us?
I think it just wants to keep killing. It doesn't really seem like it has from what I could find.
And you said the god that captured it was dead, or died.
Apparently.
Okay. So, interesting. Okay. Well, it seems like in the long run that doesn't change much. We still want it stopped. We don't really have any clear details on how to stop it. I mean, obviously taking out the cult would be a big step. But
yeah,
we don't know too much more than that.
No, not really. I think the biggest problem we have is the fact that it doesn't seem to have a end goal, ultimate power thing like a lot of gods, evil gods do. It just seems to want to hunt and kill, which will make it hard to
Do we know if there's
predict.
any? Do we know if there's any chance to redeem it? As you said, it once was good. Perhaps there's some way to fix its mind, return it to how it once was.
Man, you are talking to the wrong person. I like to read books and then regurgitate that information. I'm not. You're bigger on the whole God thing than I am.
Perhaps I will try and contact, perhaps I'll try and contact my god at some point, see if he has any answers. I don't know if he'll answer, but I can try.
So it's probably going to be our best bet. Either that or stick around here and wait for the library to build up some more.
But one other clue I think we would have is that, as it used to be a hunter and nature god, perhaps maybe some druids would know something. So perhaps if we find any ancient druids, like any elf druids, maybe they might know some information. But
yeah,
that's probably our best bet on that front.
I'm gonna go ahead and assume Valtteri wouldn't know anything.
I mean, she hasn't seemed to from when I've asked her before, so.
Okay. Speaking of druids, apparently there's this like dog out in the woods that can turn into a person instead of like a person turning into a dog.
Interesting. I don't know of any creature like that. Did you meet it as a person or a dog?
A dog, and I didn't find that out until later. But more cool, while I was at the library, they started to run some tests on me, and
you're okay with that?
I asked them to.
Oh, okay.
So they're gonna figure out how old I am.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I guess we don't know that.
So, yeah, audience, you're familiar enough about the world that you know construct usually come into awareness one of two ways, either very rapidly, which often leads into these constructs having a more naive way of looking at the world because they have very little memories of what happened while they were gaining consciousness. Sort of like just switching on the light, so whatever they were doing before, you don't really remember it. And there are those for whom it takes really long before they come into awareness. And for those, it can be especially hard because they will go through these moments of drifting in and out of awareness. So they have these pictures or sometimes very long fragments of memory where they were doing things before they became aware. And since most construct are really considered nothing more than sophisticated machines, mostly used for labor, some of them have very hard lives, hard memories of being treated like machines. But there are also some who comes from criminal organization or armies or things like that. Those can have extended periods of time where they remember doing atrocious deeds, but since they kept coming in and out of awareness. They had no control, or they couldn't resist it. So these can sometimes result in the construct having very bleak or pessimistic views of the world.
Okay. I say I actually don't think I've ever asked you. Did you come to consciousness quickly or slowly?
Uh, well, um, I definitely had to fight for it. I guess you could say slowly. It took a while. But
What are you hoping to find out by knowing your age and stuff? Just how long you've been around, or?
well, believe if I could figure out when I was made, it might help me in my search to find out what this mark means, or who made me. Because as of yet, I haven't been able to find anything on it.
Well, hopefully you'll get some news then.
Also, when we were on our way here, Civ mentioned that I was old, which caught me a little off guard, I guess.
Did you think you were young?
No, but I mean, he's obviously been awake longer than I have, but he said I was older than him, and I thought I kind of figured it. I don't know. I want to know more about me.
That makes sense. Well,
Unlike, I guess, other constructs who may have just found themselves poofing into existence, or waking up. I remember my life before I had control of it. So I don't really think of that time as not part of my life. It feels more like I just can't remember it. And I don't like not knowing things.
well, hope you definitely can find something. My plan for today was I was going to go try and train with some of the other adventurers, but I think after last night, that might not be the best idea. So there may be those looking to maybe take some shots at me, or I don't know. So I think instead I'll probably go and try and explore the industrial or shopkeeping district a bit. Maybe, see what they have around there in case we decide to stay with this group. See what they have to offer.
Sounds like a pretty good idea. I don't know when they're going to be done with those tests, so mind if I join you?
No, not at all. Alright, so I'll probably finish getting, maybe use the orb a bit more, kind of clean myself up. I'll finish eating the jello for breakfast. And then I'll probably be ready in the next, 10 minutes or something, as I still won't, put on my armor or anything.
I can pretty easily imagine that you're almost done with your jello because since you were eating while Fisher was talking, I can easily imagine that you were actually eating your jello and
Oh,
meantime.
sure.
It sort of makes really good sense and it gives a reason why we could hear you chewing. So yeah, you he was talking and you were there eating your jello.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
Mhm.
Makes sense. All right. Well, yeah. So then I'll basically just finish, putting on like shirts or whatever. I don't know if I did. And then I'll be ready to go in the next like 3 to 5 minutes.
So you see him use the orb to clean himself up, and then gives one last shot of cold with the orb and sticks it on his black eye. And, and then he seems to be ready to leave. So, how are you going to get to the commercial quarter? Are you going to go around or cut through the arboretum?
Mm,
Um, Probably just the shortest route. So I don't know
yeah.
what the shortest route. I'd probably ask directions or like. So I haven't been there yet, and I've gotten lost before. So I'd probably just
Yeah.
ask directions of the shortest route.
Well, so you do have a feeling that the garden has a bit of a circular shape. So the probably the easiest way to get there, you would assume, is by going back to the arboretum, finding a path through the forest, and just exiting out the other end.
All right. Probably do that then.
Yeah. Cut through the.
All right. So you do take a few moments to get out of the residential area. You do cross one or two people. They don't seem to be paying much attention to you. One of them looks like an adventurer, probably someone that was there last night. Doesn't say hello, but doesn't ignore you either. He just keeps on going. Um, a few moments before you exit the residential area, however, you do hear coming from behind you, that was amazing last night.
I'll look over my shoulder.
You see the turtle. He's waddling his way toward the arboretum, but he seems to notice that you were there. My son, that was a thing of epic beauty.
Oh well. Thank you. Uh, Glad. Hope you weren't hurt in the fight at all, or
Ah,
nothing.
no, don't worry. A few people got hurt, but there weren't any permanent injuries. Maybe a few people got hurt in their ego, but other than that, it was amazing. I'm pretty sure the person you smited will try to avoid you for a while, or at least think twice about saying something about that lovely woman that was with you during the night.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear. Glad to hear that he's rethought his ways.
Oh, but I'm pretty sure you made a strong impression on two people during that night. The first one was the one who you smited. The other one, and this one I remember very easily because you just started to yell at him. You even simply you open your mouth and let your breath fly.
Oh.
Because he said that the dragons were little more than glorified lizard.
And who is this?
Oh, small fellow, human, looks like one of those warrior who try and master the battlefield always.
Well, I will. If I see him, I'll keep my, keep my pleasantries, but not try and antagonize anything.
I'm sure he will appreciate it, but also I am pretty sure you were able to make your point with him.
That's also good. Glad to hear that as well.
And I am pretty sure there is a dwarf in there who suddenly thinks highly of you.
I'm glad that I was able to make a good impression on so many adventures and people such as yourself.
It was very fun. I will have to try and remember using this trick next time I'm in an inn.
Uh, glad you got so much enjoyment from it. I hope you have a good day.
And you too. And he gives you a big slap on your shoulder. But you know, it's a turtle. It's sort of a massive being. So it's sort of.
Yeah. I'll give a nod and then keep walking.
So you keep on walking, and you enter into the arboretum. You usually find one of the garden's wardens. You could call them those wearing the black robes. And sure, he gives you indication. You just have to go a little bit to your right. You're gonna find a path there. The path winds a bit in the forest, but if you follow it, always going forward, don't take any of the branches left or right, just keep going forward. You'll find yourself in the other end near the entrance to the industrial quarters.
All right. I'll turn to Fisher as we're walking. Well, I guess at least I made some good impressions on people. So definitely could have gone worse.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely could have gone worse. I feel like we're definitely not the strongest here.
No, I would definitely agree with you on that. Although again, I cannot remember much of last night. Some of the presences I felt have definitely surpassed any one I've ever met before in terms of kind of just weight and skill. I know the Naftan Tasul is definitely a better fighter than me when I trained with him. The Orc obviously proved from the beef duel you guys had that he is, at least of now, a superior fighter to you, and I know for a fact as well that Ami Ali, who I was with last night, is far above my level in terms of combat ability, but that does not mean we cannot still, I think, hold our own and make an impression on some of these more seasoned adventurers.
It's a very optimistic way to look at things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's right. I remember during the week, Fisher, you weren't there the first time I described Tasul, so you never heard his description. Tasul is an Aftan. The Aftan are one of the unique race of the Shattered Continent. They're as tall as Dragonborn, and many believes that at one point in history they were probably the same race, but something happened and it changed their body rather drastically. Probably something that we could put in the same category as elves and dark elves. So something very drastic which slowly altered their body. They still have the general shape of the dragonborn. However, they don't have any scale. It's a very thin layer of fluff that they have. They don't have any frills on their head. It's a bit more smooth. However, the fluff is thicker around the neck and also a bit on the back. And their ears are more easy to see as they're more present, raised straight up, I believe. They're a little bit thinner, but they have this sturdy feeling also, just like any dragonborn. The fluff that they have is usually of a either white, gray, black color. Never of a single color. It's all patterns and different degrees of these color. It's never just black, white, gray. No, you have a whole variety of colors in this. That's basically it for their general appearance. They're very secluded people. They don't have any islands for them. It's mostly scattered tribes all around, all over the shattered continent. One thing that a lot of people associate with them is their proximity to the shadows. They often learn to use them to their advantage. And they have a very strong hatred of the undead.
Okay.
So if you want to have something that helps you put a better idea in your head, think about something between a dragonborn and a moth.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of Jasul, what's it? Sure you'll be happy to hear that apparently he jumped in to help you out last night.
That is good to hear. Honestly, a little surprising. He doesn't seem like the one to jump into conflict easily, but good to hear. Definitely good to hear that he would be willing to fight alongside me. I'll have to find out eventually who gave me this, I said, touching my eye.
Might have been the orc. Apparently he was also part of that.
Maybe. I'm sure he'll boast about it if he sees me, and it was him, so I'm sure I'll find that one out.
It will make interacting with him even more fun.
Well, now what they say, if you can't join them, beat them. So we'll just have to get stronger and eventually make him respect us.
Is that what they say?
I don't know.
Well,
Okay.
I'd say, audience, make an intelligence check. I know you love them, so.
I do. That's a 15.
15? No,
Hey.
that's not bad. You're someone who has lived most of his life among people who value honor and value the capability of doing things on their own. You've also been several times in contact with blade masters, so there's a good chance that the orc, even though he feels easy to insult someone and does consider a lot of people to be beneath him, he does follow a strict code of honor and lives by the sword, essentially. So you are fairly confident that even if he beats you to a pulp, the simple fact that you actually accepted the challenge might be enough to at least be considered someone in his eyes.
No, I've met people like him. Our tribe that I grew up in was a very martial tribe. I definitely met when I was a kid. I remember there being a few other Dragonborn like him. That you had to fight to basically gain their respect. So he probably at least has some respect for you, just for the fact that you dueled him at all. Although hopefully we'll can figure out a way that he doesn't, or he doesn't try and kill you at least once we leave.
He has a very weird way of showing it.
Well, actually, I'd say Fisher also make an intelligence check.
12.
12. I was expecting more since you're an Eldritch Knight, but
How did I
rolled a 9? So I mean,
usually it's always audience who rolls very low on intelligence roll. All right. Well, in that case, you do. After audience saying this, you do sort of partially realize that when you were talking to the orc at the table with Valtari, there he at least treated you as if you were someone. He did call you a toy soldier, but that's it. Valtari, he literally called her a pet.
mm-hmm.
So there's a difference. And the only difference between you and Valtari is the fact that you answered the honor duel. Didn't only call her a pet, he called her your pet.
Mm-hmm. Now that I think about it, I mean, he was definitely we might have to stop Valtteri from trying to tear his throat out, because I mean, he called me a toy soldier, but she was about to blow up before we got out of there.
She can be surprisingly actually impulsive and rash when angry, so we'll definitely have to keep an eye on that.
So I wouldn't want to have to deal with just me having to fight him.
Yeah. All right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that.
Alright, so as you keep on going through the forest while talking, there is a small dilemma that you find yourself facing while you're traveling through this forest. At one point, you find yourself... this is going to be interesting. You find yourself in front of a intersection in a Y shape. Meaning you have to choose between right or left.
Mm-hmm.
Which way do you want to go?
I'll look for any signs or anything first.
Make a perception roll.
Which one's...
10.
I'll wait until...
10? 10, is that it?
Yeah.
Alright. Other than the fact that from where you are, you can look at the road and see that at one point they both seem to be going in the same direction. just in parallel to one another. You don't see much more with a 10.
All right. I'll turn to Fisher. I'll be like, "Do you remember the construct saying about anything about which way we're supposed to go?" We came to a fork.
He just said kept going straight, not left or right. Do either of them look more heavily traveled or like wider than the other, or are they just identical?
Make a perception roll.
Oh, there we go. 19.
19. Looking around, you do feel by just the general feel of what's around you that not too far from this, the forest seems to get a little bit lighter. So there's not many trees. You'd assume that they both go through some sort of a small clearing. But they both seem fairly traveled. And as a matter of fact, when you look down, you see footprints which are relatively fresh. 2 pairs. The one going left feels like a human, and most likely something smaller like a gnome or a halfling. And going right, one footprint definitely looks human, although the foot looks a bit wide, so maybe humanoid in the sense of either human, half orc, maybe orc. And the other one seems to have claws, so a dragonborn walking barefoot.
Should we flip a coin?
Well, do you share this information with audience, or do you keep it for yourself?
I guess, yeah, I'll share it.
Okay.
Look, there are small tracks going that way, and bigger ones.
I feel like perhaps that gnomes, in fact, are more of the residences of this place. So perhaps they would be heading to their shop. So perhaps we should follow the gnome and human tracks.
Aren't they?
I don't know. I felt like someone might have mentioned that when I met the other adventurers. It's hard to remember. That's the information I can give you, though.
Sure. Let's go left.
Okay.
I feel like we have plenty of time to deal with this if it's not the right direction.
So you take the left path, and it takes a moment, but eventually the path winds a bit, and you find yourself in a clearing. And in the middle of the clearing, you see 2 people sparring with one another. And in case you wanted to know what was on the other side, I basically made you choose between which pair of sparring partners you were going to meet. Since there's only the 2 of you, normally I would have made sure that one person would be there and the rest of the group would see the other. But we can just imagine that Valtteri, for some reason, chose the other path. I will tell her what she saw in this. It should be interesting to have her reaction for this other encounter. Especially, I'm pretty sure it's not the one she would have wanted. So, in this clearing, what you see, to the pleasure of audience, on one side of the clearing, you see Amiali, and in front of her, you see a halfling. Both are wearing the traditional attires of the monk. And as a matter of fact, Amiali is no longer wearing sleeves, or at least they're not there anymore. You can see the hand wrap, and the way she's dressed is a little tighter, so to make sure that it doesn't cause any problem in her movement. Even her hair has been tied very tightly by what looks like black ribbons. You see the halfling in front of her. Short halfling, black hair. He has in his hands what looks like a piece of rope with a rock tied at the end. And tied on him, on his belt, seems to be several small pebbles. You see them both being very quiet and calm in front of one of the other. They slowly walk to one toward one another. They bow. And then they jump back 2 steps. Obviously, Amiali looks a bit more nimble than the halfling does. She goes back a few steps. Immediately, you see the halfling take 2 of the stones he has on his belt and tries to throw them at her. She easily catches one and dodges the other one. She throws it back to the gnome. The gnome manages to dodge it and takes the rope tied to a rock that he has and starts twirling in the air, just waiting for her to come. She makes a few more steps and then she starts running toward the gnome. The gnome tries and throw the rope rock that he has, but she dodges it just as she jumps in the air, spreading her arms and tightening her legs below her a bit in a very Matrix fashion. Yeah. She jumps in the air, and you see her clothes burst around her, going in every direction but respecting this sphere and envelop this gnome, and immediately she just vanished inside one of the strands of silk that is in this huge sphere of huge mass of moving silk. And the gnome becomes immediately stressed at this. He keeps looking around, and coming from nowhere, she reappears from one of the strands, attacks him with a flurry of hits. He managed to block one, dodge the other one, but gets hit by the third one. And she just revanish inside another stream of the cloth. You see the gnome a bit disoriented, but he tries to do something, loses a bit of his step, tries to figure out where she's gonna come from, and again he gets hit 3 times in a row by Amiali, who just comes out of another stream, goes in front of him. The halfling seems to be very dazed by this, not sure how to react, and suddenly you see this huge mass of ribbon just tighten again directly on the gnome, completely tying him up as if it was just a little piece of meat, and then falls to the ground, and I give up. And you see all of the strand of silk letting go of the halfling, going back to Amiali, reintegrating themselves into her. The gnome gets up. Oh, I really didn't see that coming. They both bow, and then they both look at you.
I'll give an applause. I'll be like, Good fight. Good fight from both. What do you do, Fisher? Or do you just stand there?
I'll just
They're
kind of
both looking
quietly
at
go.
both of you.
I mean, those. I wouldn't say good fight. She kind of wrecked him.
That's. Nah, he did great. I'm like looking at you like, come on, don't give some credit. Don't hurt his feelings. He did great. I'm sure none of us would have done much better.
That's fair.
You hear the halfling say, "Oh, that's very kind of you, but she's clearly a bit more experienced than me. Uh, if you don't mind, Amy, I'm gonna three times is enough for me." She just says, "Sure, anytime you want to go at it again." You see the halfling. He looks at you, audience. That hold on. I think you were traveling with Toby, weren't you?
Yes, I was. He was one of my original companions.
Original?
Unfortunately, while we were traveling, he left our group to chase after one of the wizards who had gone on ahead. And when me and Valtteri reached the city behind, there was no sign of him. When we searched and learned that he had been taken by the hunter gods guild and is being held, we assume, in their one of their encampments up north.
Oh. Well, I really hope he's okay. The week after he left, another one of those black robe person came back to the monastery and gave me a letter and a coin. I was really hoping to meet him. I met a friend of his on a boat.
Oh,
A small kobold. He kept talking about Tobiyashi and a dragonborn that was traveling with him.
Grim, I think. Must have
Yeah,
been Grim.
yeah. I think that's what he said his name was.
He's a funny guy. Interesting fellow.
Well, he sure is something special. Kept trying to say that he was the son of gods now?
That, yes. I told him that the first time we met, as kobolds are a lesser race of dragons who I consider to be gods.
Oh, I guess that explain why he kept saying that he has no rival because he has the blood of gods in his veins.
Hopefully
Anyway,
he
yeah.
won't take it too far.
Well, anyways, well, I guess if Toby's been captured, I guess I could give you this. He said to give this to his friend Toby and the dragon. He takes a small pouch, and you do hear a cling when he gives it to you.
Okay, I'll take it.
He said something about it being fair that it was also shared with all of you.
I'll check the pouch.
There's gold and a few gems in it.
I'll be like, well, I guess next time I see him, I'll have to thank him. Or next time you see him, if you see him again, please thank him for me. This is unexpected, but quite kind.
He said it was only fair because. Let me rephrase it. Let me quote exactly what he said. Even though you didn't wait for him in your plan, you helped the boat a lot, So it's only fair that you get your share from another boat that tried to attack them, but they managed to repel them.
I see. Well, again, I'll definitely have to thank him. Next
Well,
time I see him.
that was it. If you ever find Toby before me, tell him say hello for me. I'm from the same monastery. He's gonna know who I am. But everyone there calls me Longshot.
I will let him know. If when we rescue him. Unless he has already freed himself. Not if, but when.
Yeah, he could have. He was very good at escaping the monastery, trying to find ways to isolate himself. So he could have. Then again,
Oh.
the monks always found him again eventually, so.
Quick question. Are we on the right way to the industrial district?
Oh, yeah, sure. You just have to keep going. The other side of the clearing, you just keep on going, and you're gonna have another path coming from behind. So you just keep on going straight. If you take the other path, you're basically going to end up in another clearing that's roughly 10 minutes away from this one here. So.
Well, thank you. It's always good to meet a fellow adventurer and one who has known a good man such as Toby.
Well, he did help me quite a few times, so let's hope that he finds his way out, or that you can find a way out for him. Since you told me, I'll also be looking for a way to help him.
All right. I'll give him a nod, and I'll turn to Ami and be like, give her, a slight nod. Be like, morning. You fight wonderfully as always.
Well, you've only seen me fight twice, but thank you again for the compliment. Apparently, you have friends in many places. A kobold who thinks he is the son of gods?
We had a few adventures on our way here.
I can see that. And how are you this morning?
Honestly, I've had definitely some better nights, but some water and a little bit of walking in the fresh air, I feel just fine.
It definitely helps, especially in the morning like this. I don't know where all of this comes from, but it's definitely something very interesting. I hope your eye isn't too bad, by the way. That half health really didn't miss you.
Ugh, so it's a half elf, eh? Well, he or she got in a good one. I'll give him that. Respect, good punch.
And thank you again for doing your best to protect my honor. That person definitely wasn't speaking with a mouth that a lot of people would enjoy kissing.
Well, you're welcome. Anytime. I don't like people speaking ill of my friends, and we'll try and defend them, as is my way.
Well, I appreciate very much, and I'm pretty sure you will be able to find people who will help you become even better fighter here.
Of course. I hope to. One of my goals is to definitely improve.
You're on a good path, definitely. But you still have a lot of place to improve.
I would agree with that. Anyway, me and my friend, he had some research to figure out alternative Fisher. Well, she knows Fisher, but me and Fisher, we must be going. We were trying to check out the residential district before any of his
Industrial.
before any of his results came back. He is having some tests done, apparently. So,
Oh, I hope it's not because there's a problem.
No.
Good. Well, if nothing else, you're in the right place to have your inside checked. They do seem to have quite an expertise dealing with construct.
My thinking exactly. Would
well,
like
perhaps.
to thank you for making sure he didn't get into too much trouble last night.
Oh, don't worry. He wasn't among those who got it the worst. Although I did have to drag him back to his room.
Sorry, I'll give kind of a nod of apology. Sorry about that.
Oh, that's alright. I've had to drag larger than this.
Anyway, perhaps we will see you around. Perhaps training grounds or other places. But for now, we must be going.
Very well. She gets close to you, puts both of her hands on your shoulders, audience.
Audience does the thing where he kind of freezes awkwardly. Tries not to blush. Luckily, scales block any blushing, so no one can notice.
Yeah, but definitely your heartbeat starts getting fast.
Little rapid.
Fisher, you notice that his breathing has become a bit more shallow than usual. So she says, "Thank you very much for the evening. It was lovely, interesting, and I hope you even managed to learn a few things about foreign alcohol. You were certainly more willing to try than I gave you credit for."
Audience makes some sound that looked like he might be trying to talk, but has possibly forgotten how at the moment. So it kind of comes out like,
And she leans in, she gives you a small kiss on the cheek, and wishes you a good day. And Fisher, just as she turns around and goes by you, gives you a small bow. You do notice that she has a slight smile on her face, like someone who has just done a minor mischief. And she keeps on going.
Audience looks like he's been struck by lightning. She wouldn't know. Kind of standing there.
So sort of like if you swallowed your own breath weapon.
Yeah, it's like I actually don't know. I'm normally resistant to lightning, but he looks like he's been struck by it.
I'll reach over and kind of shake him on the shoulder.
I'll be like,
we should keep going.
Oh, what? Yes, of course. Let's get on the road. And he'll just kind of start walking away, kind of quickly.
All right. So we're gonna take a 10-minute break, maybe 9 minutes, because there's not a lot to do right now. I hope you don't mind. This episode is being drawn a little bit more than I was planning on, but it's for a good cause. It's for our missing friend who didn't have much choice in today's absence. And since there is a major story element coming up, it's more fun when everyone's there. So, see you all in 10 minutes. Bye. Welcome back. Alright, so our party, after meeting up with audience desperate crush, kept on going forward into the forest toward the commercial district. The rest of the walk is pretty uneventful. You do see a few interesting new predatory bird, mostly. You do cross path with a one of the Sharoons. This one has clothes which are the dark blue and I don't know why the name of the color just came out of my head. Brown.
Oh.
Good lord.
Oh, how much gold? I should have added that. How
Oh,
much gold was in the?
50 gold, and there were 3 gems inside.
Okay.
Small gems.
I guess I'll continue to be the gold hoarder of the group.
Well, you're a dragon, you know. If you
Keep
start
getting.
if you start collecting art object, you really
Yeah.
are going to be a dragon.
I also keep throwing it away on pretty girls, so instead of responsible financial decisions.
Well, I had planned on giving it to Tobiyashi originally, but
It's not here, so guess I get it.
yep. Since you were both part of the boat events, well, it's normal that you get it. So, all right, like I was saying, you do meet one of these Sharoons. You haven't seen many of them. Actually, you only remember seeing 2 of them so far in the garden. This one is one with a dark blue robe and brown, dark blue and brown robes. However, this one has something very peculiar. He doesn't have the mushroom hats that all Sharoon have. You honestly have never seen a Sharoon without its hat. So it's very unusual. He does seem to be just walking on the path, looking all around, looking fascinated by almost anything and everything, and seems to be in a bit of a daze as he crosses you. He does seem to be acknowledging the fact that you're there by just drifting to one side as he walks by and looks at everything, seemingly very fascinated by things. He's not ignoring you, and he doesn't seem to be afraid of you. He just seems to be fascinated by whatever he sees.
Well, his days would match my days pretty well, so I'd probably also just do a similar thing of crossing, kind of giving maybe a small nod of acknowledgement and continuing to walk. So if anyone was going to interact, that would be up to you, Fisher.
So, Fisher, you see this Sharoon, which is 3 feet high, and this Dragonborn, which is 6 feet high. Both of them just passes by one another.
More. I'm more than 6 feet. I think I'm at least 7.
So you see these 2 creatures,
I'm 7
each
feet.
at both extreme of the height for creatures that you usually meet. Each of them looks in a daze. You know why audience is in a daze, but you don't know why this one is just looking around, fascinated by whatever. Both of them seem to acknowledge the presence, as both of them seems to step slightly to the side to let the other pass.
Mm-hmm.
Do you react in any way to this, or do you just keep going?
I'll do a kind of like double take, look over the shoulder at the Sharoon as we go past, kind of confused about why he's doing the same thing, but leave him be.
All right. Well, he just keeps on going, looking around. And he keeps on going. I have a huge list of people in this place, so whether you choose to interact with them or not doesn't really matter, but you have to meet them, you know? It wouldn't be normal if you wouldn't meet at least a few of them every time you leave.
Mm-hmm.
So you keep on going to this on this path, and you do cross Valtari at one point. You think you're almost on the other side. She's sitting on a boulder. She's just drawing things, and when you go by, she's, oh, hi.
Wave hi to her. I'll ask
Mm-hmm.
her if she wants to join us to visit the industrial district.
Where are you going? The commercial district.
Yeah.
Um. No, I think I'll stay. There's so many people in those places. I'd rather stay here. It's nicer.
I'll give her a nod and say, well, enjoy yourself and keep walking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So you keep on going. You leave her to her drawings, and actually, she probably should have looked slightly traumatized, but she definitely would need this moment of solitude right now. So, so you keep on going and you get to the commercial district, and you easily exit the forest, and you enter this place, which looks like a door originally. And you enter it, it just dissolves, and you enter this place, and it's a very wide open space, but also cluttered with stores. And you see, when you enter, it looks wide. You can see very deep inside of it, and it still has the same brass and gold and silver color, but the light is just slightly dimmer. So there's more shadows everywhere, and instead of being corridors like the residential district, sorry, it more has a slight dome shape, and there are columns coming down from the. Good lord, what did I eat? Sorry. Coming down from the ceiling, and on each of those columns, you see a few doors and windows, which you easily gather that, okay, so this is how it's made. Each of the column have a few stores, probably, and there are also a few things outside. Open stand of a variety of things. So, different levels, different. Why would some be on the outside and some be on these fancy stores? You're not sure yet, but there's a lot of things. A lot of people are moving about. Just like someone had said, there seem to be a higher concentrations of gnome and dwarves, but you do see a good amount of human and half elves walking about. You notice a good presence of the hooded figures moving about. These one looks slightly sturdier, probably similar to Illithane in their build. But they always walks in groups of two, and they just keep patrolling everywhere inside this quarter.
Have anything specific you're looking for?
No, not really. I have, I'm mostly just looking around to see what they have. I have a shield that I got that can be modified or enchanted, but I assume that is still quite a bit out of my price range. So mostly just walking around, looking to see what they have. I met a shopkeeper. Saul. I was gonna drop in, see his store, perhaps, say hi. Just see, just kind of get a general sense of the layout of this place in case we end up joining there and getting to know some of the shop owners.
Sounds like a good enough place to start.
All right. So I'll walk around. Maybe look for Sal's shop specifically, see if his name's somewhere on it. I think you remembered he said he sold potions.
Mm-hmm. So there definitely seems to be an order of things. As you move by, you do notice that each column seems to have a single variety of store. So you get a column which seems to have mostly people making weapons, and then there's a column who seems to have mostly people making armors. You do come across one that seems to be mostly working different kinds of woods. They're in the process of making a warbow right now.
The weapons and armor one I'd probably linger by a little more, as that's the stuff that interests me. At least peek my head in. Peek my head
to go in.
All right.
There.
The weapons and armor stores.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would also probably. I'd see. Well, I wouldn't see Fisher's eyes light up, but he might see my eyes light up when I saw them.
Well, actually, it might be one of the only things that Fisher can actually do. His eyes becoming brighter.
Yeah.
I'm obviously a big fan of weapons and armor, as I was raised with them, so I definitely want to go in and see what they had.
His best friend was a longsword. All right, so easily linger in front. Fisher, you said you wanted to go inside one of these stores?
Yeah.
All right.
Be looking for either a longsword or a battle axe.
Yeah, sure.
Just basic. Something to go with my shield that's a little heftier than my little hand axes.
If you asked me, I do have a great sword you can borrow. I don't use.
I already have a big one.
Oh,
got
okay.
the great axe.
Right. You don't have a.
So you need something in the middle.
I've got a really big axe and a really small axe, and I'm looking for maybe a medium one.
Need a medium axe. I will definitely follow Fisher in just to peruse, kind of look over the items they have.
So what you're saying is that you're an axe person.
What? No. Sam can vouch. I'm not an axe person.
This one was too easy to make. Sure. You get inside one of the store and you get greeted by a dwarf in the process of just placing different weapons, and seems to be a bit absorbed by what he's doing. He doesn't notice you right away as you enter the store.
I would just start kind of walking around, looking at the different weapons.
I was gonna say, peruse the shelves a little bit first.
It takes him a moment before noticing you, but since you are entering the store and moving about, sorry. Welcome to my store. Are you looking for something specific or just browsing around?
I'll kind of be like, greetings, wonderful shop. I'll look around. I am just perusing. I do not know about my friend.
Oh, all right. What about you,
Yes,
Mister?
I would like a battle axe.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can accommodate this. Um, what kind
Looking
of
to,
battle axe do you have? Just something very generic, or do you want something a little bit fancier? Are you planning on
um,
having it enchanted? Do you want to have it have it enchanted?
I would love to have it enchanted, but right now I think that might be a little out of my price range.
Oh, I see, I see. Well, in that
Just
case, normal battle
say
axe.
function over fancy.
All right, I get it, I get it. Yeah, there's been a lot of people asking for that recently. Not all of you adventurer type are looking to be noticed. Some of you are actually just wanting to blend in and not attract attention. So hold on. Give me a moment. He goes into a door at the back of the store and leaves for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Something between the third and the fourth minute, he comes back with 3 battle axe. All right. Well, I think you're gonna like those. Here, this one here. This is the last one I made. Very functional. You see that it has a slight curve in the handle of the axe. The design itself seems to be very normal, but there's some artistic thing with this curve inside the handle of the axe. But it still remains completely functional. There's no problem. The second one that he shows you seems to be made out of a oddly different metal than what you're used to. It has a lighter color, and when you take it, it's slightly lighter than the average battle axe, but otherwise it looks very normal. The third one he shows you, he does say before, this one hasn't been enchanted yet, but I was planning on taking it to an enchanter. So it's been properly prepared. You could have it enchanted for later. It does cost a little bit more because all of this preparation did take a bit of my time. So for the first 2 battle axe, any of them would be 10 gold. This one here is a little bit lighter, so it's sort of nice, especially if you want to manage just all of your physical resource also. Um, this one here, the one that's been prepared, however, this one is going to go for 30 gold because it's just ready to be enchanted. Most likely, especially if you do this here, whatever person you're going to go to will charge you less for whatever enchantment you wish to put on it, especially if it's been prepared like this. So it might cost a bit more right now, but later on, when you're gonna want to enchant it, it's gonna cost you less.
Um, well, can I swing him around a little bit? Try him out?
Yeah, sure. All right, all right. He takes one step back.
I'll take the two not the two that aren't prepped for enchantment.
Okay.
Kind of, you know, weigh them a little bit.
They both seem good. The one that has the curved axe does feel like it's not only been done as a fashion statement, but it does compensate for a bit of the shape of the axe, giving it more weight when you hit. But because of how wide the axe is, it sort of balances itself out. It doesn't give you plus or minus. The second one, if you take it, I've never tried and modified this on the ND Beyond, but it's only going to be half the weight. But other than that, it's still going to be everything exactly as the battle axe is written.
I'll go. What's this one made out of? I don't recognize the metal.
Oh, well, that means you haven't traveled to the southern part of this world. I've been told that the mineral is fairly common in the desert of the southern hemisphere of your world. So, very light metal. Just started experimenting with it. Honestly, I'm quite pleased with the result. Almost everything I've made is slightly lighter.
I'll take this one.
All right, sure. So I believe I said it was 10 gold, 11 gold. I'm not sure.
I believe you said 10.
Very well. If I said it was 10, then it will be 10.
Would you be interested in, now that I have this, I could afford to lose a hand axe. Would you be interested in buying that and taking a little off the price from this?
Let me see. Yeah, all right. Looks at it, looks at the blade. No, you've used it a little bit. It's slightly dulled. Yeah, sure. I can buy this from you. How about I take 2 gold off the price?
Sounds fair.
All right.
I'll hand it over.
He takes it. Go behind his counter. Puts it in something, you're not sure what, and just comes back on to the other side. All right, it's a done deal. Anything else?
No, that's it. Thank you. I'll hand him the 8 gold.
All right, thank you very much. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. I really can't get used to these different types of money for every world. Does seem a little strange.
I mean, if you don't want it, I'll just take this off your hands. It's fine.
No, I mean, do you have gold that doesn't have a face printed on it? If not, that's all right.
Not on me, no.
All right. Well, odd traditions. All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Come back anytime. I will be here for as long as this expedition is here.
Turn around and head out.
Briefly before I leave, did I notice anything particularly like cool or special while I was carousing?
Make a perception roll.
That would be a 14.
All right, 14. Cool and special according to audience. There is a... Wow, I heard an echo. I don't know why. There is a dagger that sort of caught your attention because there is a dragon design to it. The handle itself looks like the body of the dragon, and the pommel of the dagger looks like a tail that ends with a spiked ball. The side, I forgot the name in English. The guard of the dagger looks like the unfolded wing of the dragon, and where the blade leaves, the blade is made with a good shape, but slightly curved toward the outside, and the pattern engraved on it makes it looks like flame, and the place where the blade connects with the guard looks like the open head of a dragon. So it sort of looks like a dragon with wings unfolded that is breathing fire.
I'll say as I leave, and I'll be like, I like your dagger. I'll point to the dagger as I leave. I'll be like, that's a cool dagger.
Oh, thank you very much. I spent quite a little bit of time making it. Actually, the blade itself, I used a metal that I was told come from the east of your world. It's really interesting because if you submit it to different kinds of liquid, it takes this odd pattern that really made it look like a dragon flame. So this is why I chose this aesthetic.
Mm-hmm. It's very cool. I'll say it's a very good piece of work.
It doesn't cost too much if you want it.
I'm all right. I'm not a dagger user myself, but
Well, you never know. A dagger is always a good tool, and it's a very good emergency weapon.
I'll remember the design if I ever perhaps want a long sword or other weapon fashioned in that design. I'll remember this place.
Very well, very well.
Alright. I'll head out with Fisher.
See you again another day.
Audience has no respects for daggers. What are daggers?
Toothpicks for dragons.
Too small of a.
Too small of a weapon for him.
Yeah.
He likes to overcompensate.
Well, you know what they say. It's not about the size.
I know. It's like might as well just punch someone rather than use a dagger.
I'm pretty sure rogues would not agree with this.
That is fair. How many rogues do you see though that are 7 feet and have almost 20 strength?
Not a lot.
The cool ones.
The cool ones.
The one worth mentioning, you know.
The bugbears.
The bugbear rogues, that's fair.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, you probably saw at least once in your life an Afghan using dagger.
Yeah, that's true.
They do work in the shadows.
Alright.
Alright, so you leave the store. And as you leave, is there any place you'd like to visit?
Well, I'm just gonna keep kind of wandering around. Perhaps if I see Sal's shop, I'll head in, say hi. But I'm just kind of walking around to kind of get a general layout of the area and perhaps like look at some of their goods and just kind of get a feel for like what stores I might want to visit in the future.
All right. Well, you find stores for almost everything. So there's weapon, armor, different kinds of weapon. Those made out of wood. Those made out of metal. You see a store for general equipment. You do notice that most of the stores that aren't inside columns have to do with food. Yeah, that's about what you notice for those outside of the columns. For inside the columns, yeah, you also find apothecaries for different plants. Apparently, there are even specializations in plants. You do find a little place for different kinds of potions. So you see one which has. You see one which mostly looks like traditional chemists, you'd say. Just going to window and looking, you see a variety of liquids. Some of them you recognize because you've used potions of healing before. But it's mostly all potion that looks like the size of a healing potion. But there are a few other things, a few things made with plants. Do look like there's a bit of incense. The second store, you do notice Sal inside this the second store, and he's just placing different kinds of potions and different bag bundles also on the shelf. The third store on the column, this one has something. At least when you arrive next to it, you notice that it is probably more magical, as there are some colors inside the potion that you see. But just as you reach the side of where you can see inside, you see what looks like human in shape and size, but he is wearing a black cloak, and he leaves the store hastily, going away.
I'll turn to audience. I'll be like, I swear I've seen that guy, or not Fisher. Who? Okay, I'll turn to.
Turn to the mirror right next to you.
Yeah, I'll turn to the mirror. Be like, "What's up, handsome?" Turn to.
And then look on the other side and.
Turn to the other side. See Fisher be like, I swear we've seen that man in the black cloak before. Oh well. Seems to pop up places.
Does he look like did we notice that guy, or was that just Eldon?
Oh, that's actually a good question. Did we?
At the inn in the town before we got here.
Well,
where is it? Brad's Hill?
Yeah,
is that where we stopped?
Eldon is the only one who made the perception roll as he was entering, because he really wanted to have a good idea of what everything was. No one else asked if they want to make a perception roll, so I'll say make an intelligence roll.
Okay.
I
got an 11.
8.
What's going on with your intelligence today?
I don't know. You cursed me. Hanging out with you has made me dumber.
I think there's still a bit of water inside your head, from spending the night inside.
Yeah. The only thing I'm rolling low on.
You should check. Maybe there's still a fish caught in there.
Yeah, just
bang your head out a little bit.
I don't know why I keep getting this image now from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the fish that they put inside the ear. So, the best that I can give you with that is exactly what the audience says. Feels like we've seen this guy before. Oh well. With an 8, with no score higher than a 10, yeah, audience reaction was spot on.
Anyway, I'll head in, not giving it much more thought. I'll head into Saul's store
I'll
just to
follow
say
him.
hi.
So, you enter into the store immediately. Saul turns to, oh, hello. Oh, it's a
Hello.
pleasure to have you again with me.
Hello, Saul. This is my friend, Fisher. I don't think you guys got to ever meet at the tavern.
No, I don't believe I've ever seen him before. Welcome among us. I must
Thank you.
admit, I don't get to see a lot of construct coming from your world. That's interesting.
They told me I was the only one to make it.
That's possible. They probably would have wanted to have a bigger sampling of construct from your world. I've heard that they're pretty curious about this spontaneous awareness thing. It's apparently rare.
I'll say, well, you don't need a large sampling when you got the best, and I'll give you a clap on the back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that would definitely. You look very convinced of yourself. If you ever want to meet someone else that is also a construct, my neighbor actually, the neighboring store, is run by a construct from the same world as all of this.
I think I might have heard about him. I was up at the library yesterday.
Oh,
They mentioned there was one down here.
well then, you might have heard about him. He's certainly an odd fellow, but very helpful. And what about you? I've heard you've had quite an evening last night.
Oh, yes. Well, hopefully, apparently I caused a bit of a ruckus, but everyone seems to be alright, so no harm, no foul.
Well,
Or a bit of harm, no foul, to be more accurate.
yeah. One of the shop owner kept saying that he got smited by someone. There haven't been much Paladin in here, but I believe you are, so it's. I was saying it might be you.
Which shop will I not be shopping at for the future?
Oh, it's one of those shop over there that mostly works with crystals.
Oh, alright. Well, I don't know what I need with crystals anyway, so.
Oh, they can be very useful. You know, you can embed them in weapons and armor, and some of them can have properties. But to be fair,
I wouldn't know.
But to be fair, I think that my neighbor also works a bit with crystals. It's not his speciality. It's mostly like me, different chemicals, different combinations of potions. But while I mostly specialize in potions and herbal concoction, my neighbor, I think, his second specialization is working with crystals. So maybe you actually will never get to have to do business with this guy who just got smited in the back.
I was mostly joking. I'm sure I'll try and patch it up with him eventually.
I'd wait a few weeks, but yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, while we're here, do you have any new fun potions or anything you'd recommend for the adventuring type?
Well, sure. Well, my colleague is actually a very imaginative gnome. It's just an advice. Don't make the same statement as you just did with him. He has a tendency to let customer have free potions if they're willing to try them first.
Ah, I see.
Yeah. He... Just to give you warning, these potions, they're the potions that he can't identify. And
Well,
does, for some reason, are resistant to identification. So
I
yeah.
will say I'm not the worst subject for that. Thinking about my lay on hands and resistant to lightning, but perhaps we'll
Yeah.
be careful.
Gnomes can be imaginative, so I'd make sure you're really in a good shape if you want to do this, and you have someone who can counter odd results. As far as what I'm making, well, of course we have a good variety of healing potions. And he does show you a small sample on the wall of healing potion, greater healing potions, and he has most of the entire array of it.
And what are the price of healing potions here?
Oh, here we go. Oh goodness, there's no price for it. Oh, damn. I was sure there was a price along with it. Alright, so it's... well, of course, the normal healing potion is 50 gold, if I remember right. The the normal healing potion is 50 gold. Greater healing, I believe, is 100. Let me check. Do I have it here?
Too rich for my blood.
Yeah, well, healing potion do cost quite a bit. The normal healing potion, like I said, this one I'm sure of because we see it extremely often, and I do believe it's 50 gold. The greater healing potion, I can't find it right now. I know I've written it down because I was sure someone would ask me. I'll look, but I'm pretty sure that it's at least 100 gold for greater healing. I think this... Alright, here it is. Yeah, 100 gold.
Okay, so 50, 100, yeah. That's what I would have guessed.
100, and I believe that the superior healing potion is nearly 500.
That's funny. There are actually love potions in D&D. I didn't even know that.
Oh, yes.
Alright.
Keep
Keep that in mind.
Yeah, no, if you want to go through all of these potions,
I gave a look. I just looked at them. I know what the general potions are. I was more just acting for roleplay, but yeah.
No, sure. So just think about if it's uncommon. If it's common and uncommon, you probably can make them.
He probably has it. All right. Keep that in mind. Or I assume the place across the way is probably some of the more advanced potions.
definitely using crystals to boost the potions definitely adds a very powerful element to it.
So more of the possibly rare, even like
There
epic. Yeah.
and yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. I'll say, well, this is quite a selection you have. Thanks for showing me.
Oh, no problem. Anytime you need help, and if you want something a little bit less potent, maybe poultice to help the healing process, I can also provide you for this. It's gonna cost less than healing potion, but it's also not something you can just take during in a battle. It's for when you're resting.
Of course, of course. Well, thank you, and I hope you have a good day.
And you as well. And try not to wreck the tavern tonight.
Yeah, I was thinking of perhaps not returning there tonight. Perhaps finding another location.
Well, tonight is the last night for adventures to come. So it's going to be the last night where everything's free in the tavern. Maybe you don't want to skip this last night.
Well, yeah, we'll see. uh,
If
we'll see.
you
We'll see.
if you go back to the tavern, just remember, don't drink too much. The ceremony for everyone that came in is first thing tomorrow. So
All right. Thank you for the reminder. Leave. I'll turn to Fisher. Do you want to go check on the results of your test now? I think we've mostly looked around.
Yeah.
All right. Is the library even here, or was it back in the I don't even know.
It's its own separate district.
Oh, okay.
yeah, the industrial district, the middle floor is all the shops. The floor under it is all of the resource management. So basically transforming ores, raw crystal into ingots and crystals that this level can do. And the third level is mostly more experimental stuff, but still things that you could buy. So you'd mostly find magical object on the third floor.
All right. Yeah, I'll say I've had a good look
Oh.
around. Yeah, do you want to head over to the library?
Yeah, head back to the. What's it actually called? Yeah, the arcane district. See if my test results are done.
So yeah, it's it's next quarter. It's gonna be faster. Just keep going in circle until you get there, then going back into the arboretum and going to this. Yeah. So you find your way easily, and you quickly find yourself in this familiar surrounding of books and half empty shelves right now. But audience, this is the first time that you see this, and it's actually quite impressive. Just the scope of it. Again, it's mostly a vast open area. All the books are on shelves in the sides. The stairs going up are on the on side walls, and the center you can actually see almost all the way to the bottom, which again looks like maybe 2 floors down and 3 floors up, and it's just a large, a bit reminiscent of a tower. Place all made out of wood. You don't see the usual brass, gold, and silver material. It's mostly made out of wood.
All right.
And then there's a lot of these cloaked construct in there.
All right. I'll turn to Fisher and I'll be like, well, I'll leave you to your test results. Let me know if you need anything, and I'll walk over to one of the constructs and ask him if he has perhaps any books that are mostly pictures and very few words, perhaps with some cool weapons from like other worlds. And if you could lead me to where those might be located.
I'm thinking about like me in like 3rd grade going to the public library and browsing through medieval weapons.
Pretty much.
No, but yeah, and from my perspective, I really just had the huge flashback of, there's the father going for his test result while the kid goes to this little back room where there's all of the books with pictures, and he's gonna wait there until dad gets
reading
his
the
result.
magazines in the waiting room. Yeah, I'll go up the stairs back to the.
All right. Well, just to get this out of the way, audience, there are books that first you get the feeling that he is slightly surprised by your request. Then he says, "Well, I can show you pictures of weapons. As for weapons from other world, I'm not sure you're going to ever get a clearance that's high enough for this. But weapons from this world, if you decide to be a part of our expedition, I will be happy to show them to you once the ceremony is done tomorrow. For books with pictures, sure. I'd say you want something with weapons and war?
That would work.
Alright, follow me. And he does takes you to a place where it's a book detailing murals of various wars that happened in history. So you get a lot of pictures. There's, of course, text, but a lot of pictures of murals copied throughout the world.
I'll kind of happily sit down and kind of peruse.
This dragonborn sitting, legs crossed on the floor, and ooh, oh. All right, Fisher. One day, what would be ready? All right. So you go find this floor where you previously were. I'd say make a perception roll. Why did my sheet go? Make a perception roll.
There we go. 7.
Wow. Well, it's a bit hard finding the one that made the test the first time, because right now, probably because of the light, especially since you're a construct, so you're not supposed to have this much trouble identifying specific marks on other construct, but the light, and they come from another world, they all look the same right now to you. They're just looking, oh, maybe, no. Oh. Which one was it? So you eventually ask one. It's not him, but he does take you to the one who did take all of these samples from you. And when your eyes say, "Oh, hello, well, you're a bit early. Is there anything you'd like to add, or?"
No, not really. I was just swinging by, hoping.
Well, all of the tests haven't been completed. Mostly, anything that relates to your physical structure has been mostly completed, but what relates to your arcane component, those aren't completely finished. Well, I'm pretty sure you know that most of your clothes is very recent.
I remember getting them, so yes.
Um, there does. I believe you've experienced quite a massive damage in the last 10 years. I'd say. One of your legs seemed to have been completely rebuilt recently. Um, for the rest, I'd say yes, you actually are. Your structure is very old. I don't know much about the history of your world, but I'd place you about 3,000 years old.
Sorry, what?
The wear and tear inside of your hard components, the metal and the stones, um, I'd say around 3,000 years. Um, but it's apparent that you've been repurposed several times. Um, the organic component of your body seems to have completely been replaced at some point. So there's that. The reason why the arcane tests aren't complete is that there is something slightly unusual mixed in with the magic that animates you, and we're not done with that, so we really can't help you much with that. The engravings on you, the one that you want to know what this could be, well, they were done in your hard components, so I'd say they probably relate to your first purpose, the one that you were originally made for. There doesn't seem to have been anything added to it, so yeah, probably relates to your first assignment. Probably something mechanic, judging from the design.
Well, that thanks. Yeah, that is very helpful to know. I guess yeah, just let me know when the arcane part is done. Do you think you have a estimated time that I
Oh,
should come back?
not too long. I'd say toward the end of next day, most likely. It's almost done. It's just something very strange and very weird. Maybe it'll help us explain a little bit more about this strange, spontaneous self-awareness of your particular kind.
Yeah. Certainly hope it helps.
Well, it definitely is something to study. Like I said, if you could ever find a way to give us a broader sample group, we'd appreciate it.
I'll if I do end up joining, I'll make sure to keep an eye out.
Of course, of course.
I,
I would imagine that if you decide to be part of our expedition, there's quite a lot of things that you can actually help us with just by keeping an eye out. I've heard that a lot of the commercial districts are still looking for reliable commercial lanes, and there's not a lot of really unique material from your world. They did find a few interesting metal, a few interesting crystals, but they're really rare things. Metals which seems to just come from before your world was made, or I don't know, crystals which grows in an odd pattern. There's really a lack of this, and we'd really appreciate anything you could provide us. And especially here, where we catalog everything, anything about lore, about ancient history. If you ever find yourself in a dungeon and there's a huge mural, make sure to take a few image of that.
I'll do my best. Seems you guys might be the first people I've met that are more interested in me than I am. So
Well,
I guess it is.
you're a very special being.
Well, I'll make sure to swing back tomorrow evening.
All right. I'll see you tomorrow then.
Thanks again. I'll head back down.
Audience, how long do you look at pictures?
I mean, I'd probably look until I assumed Fisher was done, so if he never came and got me, I'd probably look at them for a little while.
So the question is, Fisher, did you try and investigate where audience is, or did you just go back to the tavern?
I'd try and find him.
So you find audience in the middle of all of these books of different murals around the world. And I'd say, audience, make an intelligence, a history roll to see how much of this you absorb.
Okay, history. That different. History is... I assume it's just intelligence, yeah, okay. So
Yeah, you don't have
a 7.
7.
There we go.
You see a lot of pretty pictures, and this world seemed to have gone through a few interesting wars. You do gather that a lot of these murals seem to come from either the War of Aberration or the Carunal War, which are, as you know, the two greatest scars of your world.
Very well. I guess wait till, Fisher comes.
Like I said,
How are
Fisher,
you?
when you get there, you find audience in the middle of all these books about murals, and some of them have really weird pictures, especially those from the Aberration War. You see the odd creature, weird ones, some you've only heard in legends. But since, Fisher, you have studied arcane things, you do recognize a few of those images. You recognize beholders, you recognize mind flayers.
I didn't realize you were so into books.
Oh, I'm not really. I just like the pictures and looking at battles and stuff.
Oh, okay. Just seemed you've kind of got a lot of stuff here.
There were a lot of pictures. You go through books fast when you don't really read the text and just flip through looking for the cool stuff.
I mean, I guess I've never really done that, but
You should try.
sure.
You get through a lot of books quickly. Probably gone through, look around, 15 or so.
Uh-huh. What are they about?
Some battles from the two great wars. You know, some of the monsters and stuff from those.
A lot of information from 15 books.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, so they're not quite done. So I'll probably come back tomorrow, but
All
did
right.
get a little bit. So
Well, apparently our ritual's in the morning, so we'll have to decide before then whether we want to join or not.
I would have assumed we were deciding there.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what even the ritual is yet, so I can't make a.
I think I'm definitely leaning more towards yes. With
I mean, I haven't seen a reason yet not to. So
They
I don't
definitely
really
seem to be able
disagree
to.
with what they're doing. So
Mhm. The only people I've met that are as interested as in learning about my kind as I am, so
yeah, I mean, they
a lot to be gained.
definitely seem to be, good. They don't seem to be evil, and there are a lot of other cool adventurers here. And if some decide to stay, we could definitely make some alliances, and which could definitely help us in our journey. So definitely could be helpful. But before we make any true decision, we should probably talk with Valtteri and all of that.
I mean, yeah, I guess yeah.
Get her opinions on things.
Do you wanna head back then?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
To what are you going back? The tavern, the arboretum, your
I
rooms,
guess.
the lounging
What
area?
time is it?
Um, Going through the forest. That would be maybe. So 9, 10. Going around shopping. I'd say you're probably somewhere with 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
Yeah. The time you took to go to the forest, you visit all the shops, and then make your way to the to where you are, and each of you finding your way. Yeah, something like that.
I'd probably go look for some food then, since I haven't eaten since this morning.
You know, audience, after you're done with that, your friend Amy and the halfling gave me an idea that maybe we could do some sparring.
I'd be happy to do that. Now, do you want to meet at the training grounds somewhere or somewhere? It looked like people were just kind of training wherever. I don't even know if there are sparring grounds.
I'll go look around while you eat. See what I can find.
I'll probably just be at the tavern then. It looks like I'll head back there. I'm sure perhaps I'll tip the bartender a bit for last night, but yeah.
All right. Make a perception roll as you enter the tavern.
Oh, okay. We're 12.
Okay. So yeah, you make your way back to the tavern. Fisher goes to the arboretum, finding a nice place to spar. Is that I understood well?
Yeah.
All right. So
I look. I'm not as loud as I normally am when entering taverns. I'm a little more like kind of. Perhaps people won't.
Sorry
really
about last night.
Yeah, just
well,
awkward.
since you arrived there, maybe even 2:30. There's not a lot of people. The lunch crowd is over. There's mostly those a few people lingering. You do see. Well, actually, you see the orc who is in the tavern, Again, sitting in the corner as if he owned the place. You do
I'll
see.
ignore him for now.
Well, as your eye glance over him and you decide to ignore him, you do notice that he has a slight grin when he's looking at you.
I'll take that as I'll take it as a good thing and move on.
You don't see a lot of people that you know. You do notice that the no, actually, he's not there. You notice a dragonborn at the counter. Looks a lot like the one that you encountered when you first got there.
I'll kind of casually go up and ask for, a bite of food and something to drink.
All right. Well, the person behind the counter, first he sees you arrive, and first thing he says is, "You're not gonna break another table this evening, are you?"
Of course not. Of course not. That was a one-time thing.
Sure. One-time thing, first time for you mean?
Something like that.
Yeah. Don't worry, we can replace them easily. Something to eat. Anything special in mind, or
No, just something simple.
something simple? All right. Turns around, talks in their native tongue that you absolutely cannot understand, and comes back with a piece of meat, a bit of ale, small piece of cheese, and piece of bread.
I'll take it over to a table by myself. Kind of try and eat, kind of quickly. Just kind of. Get out of there.
Oh boy, this hurt. It hurts so bad. All right, it's down. So, Fisher, you easily find a place for this sparring to take place. The next question is, what are you going to use for sparring exactly? As you notice, everyone was using something to replace weapons.
Mm-hmm. I
You know
guess.
that-
Yeah, that's good.
You've seen audience use longsword and great sword, so a long stick would do for him, but what about you, who likes to use axe?
I'd also, I guess I'd just look for some sticks. I mean, more. Go grab something with a little more heft to it.
Alright, so a stick that seems to have a bulge at the end. Alright, easy enough to find, especially if you go near the woods. You get the feeling that the woods are kept to as natural as possible, so there is easily sticks which can be used as quarterstaff and as facsimile of long swords. Oh, too bad. I don't have my longsword. Okay. I have a practiced longsword, so easily could have shown this. But yeah, it's easy enough to find. So you settle this, and you just trace a large circle around an area, and you wait for audience. You don't have to wait that long because it took him a while to get there, to scarf down everything that he ordered, and then go back to you. So, audience, I'd say you arrive to this place that he has chosen, which is not far away from the door that you exit when you get out of the tavern, because he didn't want you to look for him for 5 hours. So you go in a straight line and you easily meet him, and he has a long stick, roughly the size of longsword, greatsword. What did you pick for him?
I'd say longsword, because that's what I've seen him fight with.
So you basically have a stick, sturdy one, longsword for a dragonborn, so probably 5 feet long.
Alright. I'll kind of give him a nod. I'll say, I mean, I've trained with all types, so I'll just, I'll do whatever.
Well, traditionally, a lot of long swords were around 4 feet. But dragonborn, a bit larger. So that's why I say 5 feet about.
I'll take the stick, take a few swings with both my hands.
Get the balance of it.
Yeah.
Fisher, you take your stick, which has a little bulb at the end. Feel a bit like a club more than an axe, but... Alright, and so we finish this with a duel between Audience and Fisher?
Yep. I'll be at a bit of a... Well, actually, I'd say quite a bit of a disadvantage, as my armor class is only 13, which would not be normally.
Oh, yeah. Armor. Totally got that. I mean, do you actually want to, roll this out, or do you want to just say, well, it's just spar for a bit?
Oh, I really don't mind finishing this with a fight between Audience and Fisher. And since you are preparing for this, I don't mind saying that you went to your quarter and get your armor and just get your armor.
Am I allowed to bring my shields, or no? Does a shield count as a weapon?
Well, you've technically shown in a bar fight that a chair can be a weapon. So it's mostly they don't want you to have things which allows you to kill someone easily.
I will try and leave with my shield and see if they stop me.
No, they don't.
Okay, then I will have my shield as well.
Alright, so you can don your armor.
This will be even then. Alright. Don my armor, I'll take my shield, take the longsword. I assume the damage is different, or it's not like...
Well, actually, I'm gonna leave this up to you, saying you can make a courteous duel, meaning that I will only count a hit as being 1 hit point lost, but you keep counting it as if you were hitting each other, but at the end of the duel, only 1 hit point will remain lost for every time.
I was gonna assume we were just gonna say to 3 hits or something. Just do the classic thing where if you just touch someone with your stick,
sure.
It's not.
That's also an option. So best out of 3, something like that. Best out of 5.
Yeah. First to, I was gonna say, do you want to do just first to 3 hits?
Sounds good to me.
All right.
Roll for initiative.
We just doing sticks, or we throwing magic into this?
That's up to you. You make the rule of your own
I wasn't
duel.
gonna throw magic, but if
All right, that sounds good.
you want to.
It sounds like that guy you hit with the chair last night.
Yeah.
Didn't turn out too well, so I'd like
gonna
to avoid
work
that
in our
if at all possible.
basic form. I don't know what magic you can throw, but your fire sword, obviously, I think that might do a bit more than we'd want it to do, since we don't have, I think, just free health potions on command. So you might wanna.
Ooh.
All right, since we're going to just try and see to go for the first that wins. The first that wins 3 times. So best out of 5, is that it?
I was just gonna say first to 3 hits. Yeah, so best of 5.
2 hits. Best of 5.
I rolled a 15 for initiative.
I rolled a 3.
Alright, well, I will be attacking. I will get the first blow.
I wasn't ready.
Audience, first listen will be like, you must always be ready in combat. Take a swing at Fisher.
Go ahead.
Okay. Am I just using my regular attack stats? Like my normal, like, bonus and stuff?
Sure.
Okay. Or actually, I'll use my unarmed strike bonus. And just say that it's instead of my longsword bonus.
Well, yeah, because your longsword's
Why?
+1, right?
Yeah,
So-
I'm just gonna use my unarmed strike bonus.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to get extremely technical about it, it would be without proficiency because it's technically
A stick.
Yeah, it's a stick, so it's an improvised weapon. But since it's used as a longsword, I'd say there's no reason why you can't use this proficiency, especially if you agree that you can both.
Yeah.
use
I
the
assume
normal
I'd just
proficiency.
be proficient in a stick. I assume I would have fought enough with the stick as a child. Like, kidding, you know? I'm just gonna
Also,
be proficient
if
with
we
the
didn't
stick.
add our proficiency bonuses, I don't think thered be a lot of hitting going on.
Yeah, with the 19 and 18 AC. Might
Yeah.
want to add our proficiency bonuses. Alright, I'm gonna roll. Alright, so 13. So I'll start with a 19.
Yep, that'll be a hit.
Yeah. So my surprise attack, I'll be like, ha! Fisher will yell, wasn't ready. I'll be like, you must always be ready in a fight, and I'll hit him once. That's one. With my stick.
All right, since this is going to be very fast, let's go with roll initiative each time.
Oh.
Oh, okay, that's fair. So we get.
I will counter with...
So, audience hits once. Aha, you got the first. You both take back your place. You start moving around each
Okay.
other.
So initiative again is a 11, 12, 13, 14. 14.
Nope. 6.
Alright.
Audience
Audience.
against goes first. And roll for
Alright.
attack.
It's gonna be. I am not gonna hit with a 14.
Nope.
So Fisher
He
gets to
hits, but
respond.
Fisher gets to block the hit, and you make your attack.
That will be a 15.
I will
So-
block back.
And then
Audience blocks again.
I
Well,
will...
did we just switch off? Or
this
oh,
isn't
you're-
magic. I'm going to pop an action surge
You can do that.
and go for
Go
another
ahead.
swing. That
So I'll
is
block the
a
first.
21.
That'll hit.
Oh ho ho! So audience strike first, but Fisher blocks. Fisher counterattacks. Audience block, but Fisher use this action surge to hit you, and you get hit with a good hit on your abs.
Nice one. Nice one. All right, that
Alright.
is 1-1.
1-1. Third round. Roll for initiative.
You're gonna be going first.
Are you sure about that?
I rolled a 4.
Oh, I rolled a 5.
So you both hesitate, but Fisher hesitates just a little bit less. And go ahead.
You attack. No, you attack. No, okay.
Oh,
fine, you actually attack.
that's a natural 20.
All right, that hits as well. That hits
This is
as well.
a hit square on the head. Oh.
Bonk.
All right, good, nice one. Roll.
Yeah, roll again. One audience, two Fisher.
16.
Nope.
All right, I will
did you
attack
roll, Fisher?
again.
Fisher, what was your initiative?
Oh, sorry, 16. That was initiative again. 18.
Oh,
18.
never mind. Fisher goes
Oh,
first.
You go first.
Yeah, no, that's going to be a 14 to hit.
All right.
Audience
I will
blocks
block that one.
the blow.
I will also miss though. 12.
Audience blocks with his shield, try to counterattack, but Fisher blocks with his sword. Since this is still within the same round, we go with the same initiative. Fisher, you counterattack. Go ahead.
23.
That'll do it.
That'll do. Oh. And so Fisher hits for a third time audience. Little strike on the side of the shoulder.
I'll be like, good duel. Your form is quite good.
So the final
Not so
score
bad yourself.
So the final score is 1 audience and 3 Fisher. You could just take the last round for honor's sake, but
Well, it's 3-1.
Fisher
no,
definitely
that's-
lost. Fisher definitely won.
Yeah, no, it's good. He won. It's a casual duel. Audience doesn't take those, as seriously.
Starts losing, just throws in a smite.
God damn it! The incident with the chair again.
Yeah. No. Audience has lost plenty of duels in his time.
Most likely. You were saying?
Oh, I was just saying. Oh, I actually want to roll this out again, but you wanna go again? Maybe have a little fun with it. You ever tried blind fighting?
Oh, sure.
I'll cast
that could be
Fog Cloud.
interesting.
Us.
There's a huge fog cloud, and the both of you are squaring off against one another in probably something that would feels like the Wrath of Khan.
I don't think we need to roll this out.
Yeah, no. Be horrible. Dude, rolling disadvantage against
no.
18
I don't know
to
the way you were rolling, Dre. You'd be fine. You were rolling all like 20s.
Oh yeah, no, I was horrible on the initiative, but the attacks were good.
Well, actually, if you want to make this interesting, what I will say is instead of initiative, what you would both roll is a contested perception roll. Because you're both fighting in fog. Trying to find one another.
I think we'll just play it out.
We'll say
yeah. We keep sparring for
a bit. I'll win a few. Fisher wins a few. We'll say we're pretty even matched.
All right, so
overall ratio evens out to about 3-1.
I'll take it. I lost.
I'd say it'd be more even than that because I don't have my action surge up anymore.
It's like, damn, bro, popping the action shirts with the casual duel. All right.
So Fisher has 18 of armor. Audience, Fisher with the X has a plus. And audience has a.
I have a +6.
So yeah, I'd say at the end of the day, it's pretty even because audience has a +1 more than Fisher to hit, and a armor class of +1 compared to Fisher. So
I have a very slight advantage.
At the end of the day, I'd say it would be normal if it would end a bit more like 3-2 in favor of audience.
Sounds about fair.
Because of this slight advantage that he has. If you don't use magic.
Yeah. Well, if we were using magic, I feel like he'd win by more.
Well, not necessarily, because his attacks boost his damage, and you don't deal damage right now.
Oh, yeah. I guess so, yeah.
Again, though, then we start using magic, things get weird.
I don't have shield, though, so, I mean, I feel like that's the only one that would be. Unless I was just running around, shooting you with firebolts.
Facts.
The day ends with the both of them running around, chasing one another. The other one, Get away from me, throwing firebolts. I said only an hour, not 4. Get away, get away.
Me just casting Compel Duel. I compel you. You have to duel me again.
We've just went 15 times. I get enough. Compel duel. Let's go again 15 other time. Yes. So you can easily say that you went on like this for a few hours, and then you rejoined everyone at the tavern.
Yeah.
Yep.
Festivities for the last day.
Audience was a little more quiet and perhaps sat in the corner that evening.
Fisher, do you join audience in the tavern?
Yeah. Just
Then
to make sure he doesn't get in trouble again.
Then make a perception roll.
14.
14, that's better. And I'll lower the DC because it's part of your background. The first time that you entered this place, you got such a bad perception roll that you didn't notice this, but this is a detail that you actually do notice as you enter this evening. Above the counter where everyone gets their food, there is the name, The Garden, placed there. Audience, you saw this before. Fisher, this is the first time that you actually focus on this. And you realize something. You've seen the way this thing is written. You've seen it many times. The way that it's placed, the way that it's written, it's something that you usually see on the side of a ship. This is when you realize you're not in the garden. You're in the garden.
Oh. I see. As in, the garden is some huge
As in, this is
machine ship, not a garden.
Yeah. You have for the first time the feeling that, oh, the garden is a ship. The largest one you've ever seen, but still.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. I'll bring that up as we're chatting.
Audience will think about it for a bit and be like, but what ocean are we floating in then?
A ship doesn't necessarily have to be in an ocean. Could be. You've heard of airships, right? Could be in the sky. We could be, as far as I can tell, or with what they told us, somewhere in another shard.
Interesting. Hans will kind of ponder it for a second and then be like, oh well, go back to whatever he was eating.
You get this moment where you see audience thinking about this, and you see the camera slowly going away as this episode ends, and then you hear, and the camera comes back, and, oh well, and everything fades to black. All right, well, unless you have something else to add to this, we can end this episode here.
I'll be good.
Yeah, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
All right.
One thing.
Yes.
So, kind of out of character, general world thing. As a construct,
Yes.
or at least as the Warforged is written, same with like the sleeping thing. It says I don't need to eat or drink.
Yes.
But is it still possible?
Yes.
Mostly for like a drinking potions sort of way, but also
yes, no, definitely don't worry about potions. If you're asking this for potion, don't worry. The design would have been made so that a construct, especially made for battle, could have different ways of healing itself. And since the inside of you is basically a root system, it's basically like watering the plants. So yeah, don't worry. You can use potion.
Okay.
There's no problem. I'd say
because I was also thinking about booze wise. Although I am resistant to poison, I am not,
you're not
immune.
immune.
To it.
Yes, you could intoxicate the plant living inside you. You're feeding the plant. Yeah. Let's give some beer to the plant. Let's see how it works. So as far as eating and drinking, like I said, constructs are made for a very wide variety of things, and you can also find in noble houses construct that are made especially for tasting food, seeing if it's been poisoned. So it's definitely a design feature that can be there. So I'll just say, if you want, you can say that you have been designed with the ability to ingest matter and liquid. Or you can just say, no, I haven't been made for this. There's no place for it to go. I can use a potion because you're basically just pouring it in a receptacle, but you're not made to eat. I am leaving it up to you because, as I've said, construct making is literally an art form in a shattered continent.
Okay. I think, yeah, I'll make it so that I can,
Barely.
but just to keep it consistent, I generally don't.
So it's all right. Can just be, since you are curious about yourself and you notice that it can happen, sometime you can indulge in seeing what all the fuss is about, eating and spices and drinking, and just like dreams. You've heard that dreams are a part of sentient being, so every so often feels like, oh, I've heard things that are making me ponders, and living people get inspiration from this. So maybe tonight I heard a good story, maybe I should sleep on it. Can be exactly the same thing.
I think in that case, seeing that audience isn't going to be going super hard tonight, as long as they're making sure there isn't going to be a repeat performance, I think I'll see what all this fuss is about, and
All right.
grab an ale.
This is the last night that
Something-
everything is free. You can sample a lot of things.
I was going to say, kind of start sampling a bunch of stuff.
Sure. So while audience is slowly sipping at an ale and his spicy jello,
I'll come back to the table with like 5 different mugs and just kind of set them down in front of me.
you see Fisher audience. You see Fisher coming back with a full platter of different ales, and especially if you decide to take the sample size, you can easily have half pints, all filled with different liquids. So you don't need to be limited at 5. You could have 12.
I'll be like, there you go, bud. Enjoy yourself.
And then 5 minutes later, you see 2 of those construct from the garden arriving with a variety of foods.
Mhm. And if they have everything here, it seems like the best place to try it out.
Makes sense.
So there's probably a bartender somewhere in there that felt really weird because a construct came to him and said, "One of everything. Everything."
Audience will try a few different things that are brought over as well, but definitely not as much.
So you spend the rest of the evening trying everything. And we can end this here. It looks like a very interesting moment to end, with the audience and Fisher both enjoying a variety of food. And when the day finishes, you all are all going back to your rooms. And
Getting ready for the ceremony.
Yep.
Yes, and hopefully next time there will be 3 of us. So, thank you for everyone who came to watch. Sorry that this game was a little bit slower, but you know, it's instead of this happening after the meeting, it happened now, so it would have happened anyway. Bit more roleplay than usual, but hey, it works, and you still got to have a few funny moments. So, we hope we see you again all next Wednesday. Like I said, hopefully with a full team. And of course, if you enjoyed the show, you can support us, support the stream by following us on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. You can also leave a comment or say something in the chat. You can also support the stream by making a donation, becoming a Patreon, and as a matter of fact, I might actually be adding things to the Patreon. I'm almost done with the description of the Sharoon, but I think I will be trying to add things to the YouTube channel and Patreon, so stay tuned if this could interest you in seeing something else, not necessarily related to this campaign, but to my general knowledge of D&D. And of course, you can always help us by simply spreading the news of this channel to your friends, to whomever you can think of. So, thanks everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hope to see you all again Wednesday. Bye.